Good day, what I'm gonna do is we do today. Obviously, we have you've had the first flight, and well, I thought if I bunch the review in one, it might as well work for a day. So why the hell not? And today we have the review on the Brits. Obviously, you've seen the first flight of the aircraft, and obviously now you're getting a review. Let's just say this aircraft is pleasantly, surprisingly effective. It's the best way to put it. The aircraft itself has great capability. It can be very versatile when it needs to, and I think this is the best Corsair Premium that you can get right now. That's for definite. Now, why do I say this? Well, obviously, with the Japs there being nerfed and the US Corsairs handling like dogs, it's kind of, well, except the 1D, that thing actually handles pretty well. Um, the best way to summarize it is that the Corsair F Mk II is the best out the lot. So if you're going to put a talisman on any of the early Corsairs, you'd want to go, well, in fact, you don't even need to because this thing is a premium, so don't even bother. But if you're going to pick one out of the early one, all the early Corsairs anyway, I would actually recommend the 1D. The 1D would be a perfect talisman. That thing is just as versatile as this thing and kicks more ass. So, the Corsair F Mk II, the Brits here. Obviously, we have got clip wings, so that really does benefit the aircraft's handling. And this appears to be the only early Corsair that doesn't seem to handle like a dog. What do I mean by that? Well, the early Corsairs recently been handled a bit like a boat. They don't feel nice to fly. The 1D is the only Corsair that's early that doesn't seem to be affected by it. I haven't tested a 1C yet, but they just don't seem right. And this is one of the few Corsairs that actually works. So this absolute beauty of an aircraft, because let's be realistic, Corsair is one of my favorite aircraft for its looks. I mean, the gold wing shape is just so recognizable, and it's a lovely looking powerhouse of an aircraft. So let's go over it and let's cover it in a bit more detail than the first flight. So obviously, armor, it's a Corsair. It's got pretty good armor, and it's a pretty tanky aircraft in most situations. You just got to watch cannon fire. That can rip you apart. On the inside, you've got an engine pushing nearly 2,300 horse, and that's a pretty good power plant. Let's just say that. This thing can dive extremely well. It can climb reasonably well for the BR as well. And combine that with 650 caliber machine guns, it's very effective. Let's put it that way. Now, the one thing that I noticed immediately was these wing fuel tanks. Now, I don't know how much fuel they contain, but I'm guessing not a lot. But I would actually recommend keeping an eye on these. Because obviously most of the fuel is going to be stored in the central fuel tank. And with these being here, it's very likely that if someone hits you in the wing, you may just have a wing fire. Especially to AAA guns, and obviously light AAA guns, and obviously maybe bomb and defensive fire. However, one thing I've noticed immediately with this aircraft is the lack of engine toughness. What do I mean by that? Well, as I said, the aircraft is durable, but not the engine. The engine is very weak to gunfire. On average, it takes about 2 to 3 7.92 rounds to actually down the aircraft. It doesn't feel that strong in terms of engine durability. So, if you're going to take hits to the engine, even though Pratt and Whitney R2800s were famous for losing flipping entire cylinders and keeping on flying, not in War Thunder. So, be prepared to lose your engine if you decide to engage a bomber, because that tended to happen with me. I tended to lose the engine rather quickly. So, what is our armament? Well, we have 650 cal machine guns. Nothing really needs to be said here. The inboard guns, or I'd say the outboard guns is what you'd technically call them. They have 25 less rounds than the other guns, so you can fire just that little bit more with four of the other guns, but not so much that you'll be paying much notice because you'll be empty the second after. In fact, less than half a second after. But otherwise, this thing is pretty well equipped. Obviously, we do have the 500-pounder and the 1,000-pounder. You do get to see the 500-pounder because I decided 1,000-pounder to deal with a pillbox is a bit overkill. But as it turns out, there's no such thing as overkill, and I don't actually get the pillbox, but there's enough bomb shrapnel to get the artillery piece that it landed next to. So that's always nice. But obviously, recommended belts, universal, fuel load 20 minutes, and just take it from there. I mean, if you really think this aircraft is for you, this is it. I think it costs 1,150 golden eagles. I'd certainly say it's worth it. That's for certain. I mean, 1150G would either get you a Japanese Corsair, which I don't recommend. It could also get you the 109 Samurai Edition, and it could get you many other aircraft, which I think are pretty on par with this aircraft, but I personally would go with the Corsair. The Corsair F Mk II is definitely going to be one that I recommend. So, in terms of how I did with the vehicle, I didn't do too badly, I don't think. I mean, most of the deaths, as I mentioned, were due to engine failure. You're going to want to watch the engine. But other than that, I really had no problems with this thing. 44 air kills, 100 grand, and no naval targets, which is kind of ironic since it's a Royal Navy Corsair. But even so, I didn't really find any maps to engage ships on, and even if I did, I'd probably ignore them unless I had the bomb on board. But yeah, this is definitely an aircraft I would recommend, and obviously it's got a lovely skin. However, there's plenty on War Thunder Live that I've seen, and they look lovely. So feel free to change the aircraft skin if you want. I mean, it is your aircraft, so let's just say this is a very worthwhile premium. So the battle is 25 minutes long. However, I'm not gonna make you sit through the full 25. I'm teamed up here with Nate, Daetoris, and Shadow. And this was a funny as fuck battle. There's no other way to put it. Let's put it that way. So it was in a 4-man squad. Obviously, we're flying in 2-7. Nate's bringing his VG. Shadow's bringing his Spitfire Mark II. And Daetoris is in his Typhoon Mark 1A. I believe they were all... Well, I think Nate's is spaded, but other than that, the others are spaded in their aircraft. Obviously, me flying a premium, this thing comes spaded. So, one thing I've noticed is that a lot of people don't seem to realise this is a clipped wing Corsair. So obviously you don't tend to see these anymore, which is a bit sad. I'd love to see more of these. The clipped wing Corsair has a much better roll rate than the other Corsairs. I think it takes it up to about on par with the one, like the 4 Corsairs, like the F4U4B and stuff like that. At least it feels in that equivalent. And obviously, with the clip wings, you're going to be trading a bit of climb, but at the same time, you're going to be benefiting so much more. I had much better controllability in this aircraft compared to the others. And that's putting that lightly. I mean, I was able to roll with most enemy aircraft on the enemy team, and 109s were surprisingly easy to reverse, which is saying a lot. But all I'll say is that this aircraft is definitely worth your money. I mean, fair enough, it's not going to climb the best, and as you can see, even Nate's old VG is actually out climbing me, but bear in mind I was not wepping. I wasn't wepping, and I was at 15 degrees, I think it was. This aircraft only comes with 8 minutes of web, so don't ride the web if you don't need to. Just ride it 100%, and it seems to do pretty fine. I mean, 2,000 horse. If it doesn't get along fine, I'd be very concerned. So, I'm going to jump us ahead, because obviously it's a 25-minute battle, and it was a carry and a half. My back hurt after this one. So, I'd already spotted my first victim, and Daetoris manages to nail a P108. And I've already spotted my first victim, and yes, I'm going for the Condor. Because, well, why the frick not? I mean, he's in my gun sight, and Condors are juicy, and I want to see what the 50 cals do. Not the satisfying explosion I wanted, but a good enough kill nonetheless. So here comes an F1, and obviously with the additional roll rate, I was able to dodge him rather easily. That's one thing I found. As I said, the controllability in this aircraft was a shit ton better than the other Corsairs. I tell you, clipping the wings was one of the best things you could do. And down there, you can see Daetoris is now currently farming light pillboxes, which, to be fair, the Brownings on the Typhoon are more than capable. Second kill. And now I've got a Frederick on my ass, and obviously I'm dragging him low, and we was all saying, well, Daetoris is like, don't you dare drag him to me. Shadow's trying to drag a plane to him right now. And obviously, we're at 500 miles an hour, so the 109 can't actually follow my turn. And I'm trying not to laugh because I don't want to spoil it. But obviously I'm dragging the 109 to Daetoris, and I would have thought that Daetoris would have well, let's just say I would have thought Daetoris would have been able to deal with it, but instead he decides to go for a pillbox. And unfortunately decides to turn himself into a loft conversion. Yeah, I don't think that's what a Typhoon is meant for, mate. So, yeah. Just thought I'd showcase that, because, well, that was pretty freaking funny, and, yeah, you know how a football fan shouts, "Hooray!" whenever, like, they score a goal or something, or if you're in a British pub and someone drops a glass? I kind of did that, and it was well worth it, and he was getting so pissed about it, but it was so worth it. But sorry, mate, I had to show it. I just couldn't leave that. That was too freaking funny. So at this point, I'm engaging this BF-109, and this BF-109 seems to think he has more horsepower than me. No, you don't. Don't know if I have more weight, but R2800 I trust more than your Daimler Benz, that's for definite. He turns in front of my guns here. I get a decent gun solution, and obviously now I'm taking more gunfire. And obviously I was like, what the hell was that? So obviously I'm looking around, and it turns out there's a 110C trying to engage me here. So there goes my third kill. And this is where it's going to get a bit more mental, shall we say. I couldn't really think of a word to describe this battle. Shadow's been shot down at this point by a BF-110F. I don't remember how he died to it. I think the 110 just got a good gun solution on him. And there's kill number 4. I think you can see where this is going. And obviously Nate's trying to engage a MC202EC, or as the Italians call it, the Experimental Cannone, which basically means experimental cannons or something like that. And at this point, I'm shitting myself. I'm not got a lot of speed behind me, and that is a pacifier, aka a Spitfire Mark 5B Tropical, owned by the Italians. It's not actually a captured one that they were giving it. But at this point, Spitfire has to make a turn. And if there's one thing that Corsair can do, it's outrun him. And obviously, yes, I am riding a weapon at this point, and I'm just leaving him in the dust. He cannot catch a Corsair at this altitude. It's almost impossible for him to do so. So Nate manages to kill the 202 in a dogfight. And obviously now I'm moving to engage the Spitfire. Unfortunately, it would seem that Nate had a bit of Japanese in his aircraft, because, well, yeah. Well, either that or Nate wanted a hug, which I can also understand that. But it's not the Spitfire we need to be concerned about. I got a crit, and, well, yeah, they hugged. The Corsair just hugged. Unfortunately, don't actually get the kill on it, but I hit the Spitfire enough times to get the assist, and I also hit the pilot in the face with a 50 cal, so I get 2 assists out of it. Perfect. So obviously I'm trying to engage the BF-110 here. I scored some hits and obviously damaged the aircraft. And it's at this point when they gave the BF-110 a bit of an unfortunate hug. So now it's down to me and a A-20G, which puts me up against 4 enemy aircraft. A Z-1007, another C-1007, a Condor, and this damaged BF-109. I still had about 600 rounds, if I remember rightly, and obviously I knew I needed to catch up to this guy and try and engage him. As you can tell, low speed to, like, in the middle ground of medium speed, acceleration isn't great, and I am riding the web at this point. It's not great in terms of that. I will say that this aircraft does struggle accelerating from low speed. It's got a lot of weight behind it, and it's got a lot of horse, but that doesn't mean nothing. And there's the ace. Ace of the day in the Brits here. And I just thought I'll pick up a couple of ground targets on the way back. I might as well. I mean, I've got the ammo for it, so why the hell not? I mean, it's there for a reason. And I'll tell you, these guns just don't want to run out of ammo. Like, I'm able to return to base now after 5 kills, 4 ground, 2 assists. I mean, that just proves how much ammo this thing actually carries, and that's why I love American aircraft for that, because they literally just carry so much bloody ammo. So instead of flying all the way to the main airfield, I decided to go to the forward airfield, use the last bit of my ammo to slow down, strap a bomb on the plane, and take off. You're going to be seeing that bomb hinge a lot more, because I don't actually return to take off the bomb. I just get rid of the bomb and then keep the hinge on. There is no delay on the bomb hinge either, so you don't have to worry about a bit like a mechanism. It's just pure straight drop, so you don't have to worry about that. So obviously, as I mentioned, we are down to 2 Z1007s and a Condor. One of the Z1007s is going to crash and be unrepairable, and the other two, I believe it was I think it was Itamarco. Yeah, it was Itamarco that crashed and was unable to continue the battle because I think he ran off the runway or came up a bit short. I'm not too sure. He must have suffered engine damage of some kind. So at this point, I have got the 500 pounder on board, and yeah, it does affect the aircraft quite a bit. And this is just a 500 pounder. The 1000 pounder does affect it quite a bit more, but at the same time, if you're using a 1000 pounder, chances are you're either farming up ground targets anyway, or you're in tank forces and you'll be shortly getting rid of your bomb to the point where you don't care what happens to it. So I'm trying to line up on this pillbox here, which I didn't do too badly with. That was a replay bug, but the bomb actually missed it. Well, I say missed it, more like it hit on target, just didn't do enough damage to it. But the bomb shrapnel was actually enough to kill an artillery piece after the tanks finished it off, so that's always nice. And now I've spotted the Condor. I've got to go for it, guys. Like, come on, it's a Condor. I want to tear it apart with 650 cals. I mean, I know that plane's a pile of shit, but let me tell you, that is a juicy target for these 650 cals. So Daetoris at this point was like, I don't think you're going to have enough airspeed and you're not going to have the climb to get up to this guy. And I was like, oh really? Punched the whip and then just pulled up for this guy. Getting hits. Fire. Another fire. Another fire. Another fire. God, I love how flammable Condors are. They really do make for a good marshmallow machine. Kill number 6. So at this point, well, there you can see Itamarco. He's tried to land at the forward airfield, but has actually missed it by quite a significant margin. I reckon he suffered engine failure previously. And the A-20 has actually killed a base to try to turn the tickets in our favour, and is now currently trying to strafe out the dead Z1007 to obviously get rid of it. Now at this point, the only enemy aircraft left is Nitsumaru in a Z1007 Series 5. I'm going to jump us ahead because it's a good 6 minutes before I catch up to this son of a bitch and shoot him down. He tried to space climb, but I don't think he realised that I do have the patience to climb for him. And there he is up there. He's about 3 miles up ahead of me. He's at 23,000 feet, trying to climb. Well, I say climb. This thing doesn't really climb at this altitude. He's trying to space climb to try and force the match in his favour. Even if I didn't have the patience, mate, I could go down there and farm every single ground target. So I would not recommend that. And it's only a matter of time. And I think he soon realises that, yep, game's up. Gonna have to try and get rid of this Corsair somehow. But if there's one thing a Z10078 ain't doing, it's getting rid of a Brits here at 20,000 feet. Or thereabouts. So I'm going for my first gun solution. I'll admit, I had some poor shooting here. I only scored a couple of hits. But at that point, I actually kill a gunner, and then that happens. The entire elevator section falls off the aircraft, but bombers don't seem to care about that, so I knew he wasn't done for. Daetoris was like, oh, he's finished and all that, and I was like, no, he's not. He can fly that thing and drag out this game even further. So I just decided to go in and finish the job as I should. I mean, I'll be getting my 7th kill that way. Lined him up, and the pilot actually bailed out. I didn't get the chance to finish him off, but I just thought, well, you tried space climbing and that pilot garbage, so you deserve that extra burst. 7 kills, 6 ground targets, and 2 assists. That really does show what the Brits Air can do in good hands. It's a perfect carrying aircraft. You've got the ammo, you've got the bomb. You're more than capable of carrying a team if you must. So, 1150 GE. Why the hell not? Why not buy it? It's a perfect premium for this purpose. However, the next premium review that will be coming out will be something that may give this thing a rival. There's your hint. I'll see you all on the next one.